Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to review some books that I've bought when I first started my autism journey coming up to 2 years ago now. So stick around and I will let you know what I have found helpful in my own autistic journey and other books that I've read on autism as well. Everyone, my name's Nat. My channel is Neurodivergent Nat & Co. In today's video, I'm going to chat about the different books that I've read on autism that have helped me with my journey. But the books that I have found most useful, probably the first one I read was Neurotribes. So, Neurotribes by Steve Silberman. Now, if you're interested in wanting to learn about the history of autism, this is a really good book. Steve goes through the history in quite a bit of detail. So Steve Silberman is, he has a background in journalism, but also in particular science. Actually, how it started. He talks about Hans Asperger and Leo Kanner. So yeah, if you're interested in research and getting to know the history of autism, I definitely recommend this book here. So the second book that I got was Spectrum Women. Now this is a compilation stories and people's autistic journeys, particularly as late diagnosed women. So this is an Australian book. Like, it's a compilation of different of autistic women's journeys. It actually, each chapter is devoted to like a different section. So for example, growing up on the spectrum, that's one chapter. Diversity, gender, intersectionality and feminism is another chapter. Relationships, socializing, anxiety, personal safety. So these are all different chapters. Communication, independence, co-occurring conditions. So shares the stories of autistic women, but it actually kind of helps to break down it in terms of the different areas. So I found this a really interesting read. I learned a lot about how autism is with different autistic women. So I definitely found that really useful, and I definitely identified with a lot of what the women were saying. And whatever happened to me talking about 5 books, I don't know, because I love books. I love the smell of books, and I love reading, I love researching. So don't know if it's going to be 5, might be about 8. So the next one that I purchased was this one. Oh, what a beauty. Divergent Mind, Thriving in a World That Wasn't Designed for You by Janara Nerenberg. This would have to be one of my top all-time recommendations if you are new on your autistic journey, and in particular if you're a woman or if you identify as being female. This book is fantastic. She basically draws on historical research, but also giving examples of women with different neurodivergence. So we're not just looking at autism. She also covers high sensitivity, ADHD, autism, synesthesia and SPD, so basically sensory differences. So it explores the sensory worlds and gender bias, dispelling widely held misconceptions and proposing long overdue, much needed societal shifts. Yes, definitely. Janara is a lecturer on neuroscience, so my particular areas of interest are psychology. Yes, I've got a degree in psychology, autism and neuroscience. So I have predominantly a science background, So this book was fantastic. So it really helps to kind of break down different areas of being neurodivergent. So depending on, you know, what you can relate to, whether it's more autism or ADHD. She does talk about all of those conditions and sensory processing. So definitely would recommend this book here. And then after that, if you have an autistic daughter or you know someone that's a little bit younger that's on the autism spectrum, I have a couple of books here that I would definitely recommend. One is the Awesome Autistic Go-To Guide. So this is more like a practical handbook for teens and tweens, and it's by Yen Perkis, who incidentally I actually did a video with, because at the time the podcast wasn't working. So please have a look on my website, mandarandcenter.com, and I will put that down in the description below. So this book here is fantastic if you know someone that's on the spectrum that's a little bit younger. Really identify with what it means to be autistic, and in a way that's, you know, been written for them. So it's not too heavy with a lot of detail, but just enough, and it also provides spaces where you can write. Chapter 3, Why You Just Might Be Awesome. So it's really strengths based as well, which I feel is really important, especially when, you know, you have a daughter or you know someone that's a little bit younger on the spectrum. So yeah, I definitely found this book I found it interesting myself, even as an adult. Chapter like helping with meltdowns and shutdowns, so not too deep, but just enough detail. So just over 100 pages, nice and light, but again has spaces to write your thoughts and feelings and information in there. So definitely would recommend that one. This is the Spectrum Girls Survival Guide. So how to grow up awesome and autistic. So even that cover makes me think, oh wow, this sounds fantastic. It's it must be really strengths based, and it is. It's written by Sienna Castellan. It's actually forwarded by Dr. Temple Grandin. So yeah, and some of the chapters are, for example, embracing who you are. So again, I've just mentioned strengths based, which I am definitely a big fan of. So there's probably about 20 pages on that. The importance of being yourself. So this book goes into a little bit more detail than the Awesome Autistic Go-To Guide, but again, not too heavy. So it's a little bit of a thicker book. It's just over 200 pages. To give you an idea, Sienna, when she wrote this, she was 17. She is an autism advocate and anti-bullying campaigner who is on the spectrum. So great to actually read a book from someone that's on the autism spectrum. It says it's an essential go-to guide. Gives you all the advice and tools you'll need to help flourish and achieve what you want in life. Lots of practical tips on friendships and dating. So a lot of information based around, you know, being a teenager and growing up on the autism spectrum. So definitely check that one out. If you're looking for something that's cute but definitely summarizes, I guess, autism, and you love pictures and you love cats in particular, you're going to love this book here. All Cats Are on the Autism Spectrum. This book is so cute, but it's written in a way that is very simple, but yet it talks about what it's like to be on the spectrum in very simple terms. So for example, the first signs of autism are usually picked up very young. Yes, but not always. Those on the spectrum look at the world in their own unique way. They like to be near those they love, but might not want to be held. So it does go on. There's lots of cute cat pictures. I mean, look at this example here. Good at maths, only eats white food, doesn't like to be touched, hates change, but loves trains. There you go. Oh, that's that one there. So yeah, a really good maybe introductory book, or maybe a gift for someone. There's about 65 pages. I think a really good book for young and old, really, and maybe a good book as a gift as well. So that one's very cute. In terms of autobiographies, there are lots of books out there, especially written by autistic women, which is so good. It's so good to see that, we are writing our stories and people are reading our stories and feeling validated and feeling understood. The two that I bought were Late Bloomer by Clem Bastow. Now, she's an Australian. If you're not in Australia, I'm sure you can still purchase these books online. That's Clem's book. I love the colour. Look at those shiny, glittery colours. So, yeah, Clem says how an autism diagnosis changed my life. And on the back, she found the unspoken rules of social engagement confusing, arbitrary, and often stressful. Friendships were hard, relationships harder, and the office was a fluorescent lit nightmare of anxiety. It wasn't until Clem was diagnosed as autistic, age 36, that things clicked into focus. So this is basically deconstructing the misconceptions and celebrating the realities of autistic experience. It's a heartfelt coming-of-age memoir that will change the way you think about autism. The chapters are quite descriptive, so until you actually read the book. But again, being autobiography, and she talks about her experiences growing up, not knowing that she was autistic until the age of 36. And the other memoir I have is by Emma A. Jane, Diagnosis Normal, Living with Abuse, Undiagnosed Autism at COVID Grade Crazy. So that's another memoir, autobiography. This one, again, very witty, Clem Bastow's book. Emma writes with candour, wit and great insight about the complex combination of autism, mental illness and childhood abuse that led to her being the person she is, and explores the impact each of these has on so many others in society. So yes, there is it is probably a little bit more harder going than Clem's book, because it does touch on sensitive topics, but again, very candid, very this is real, this is raw. People are writing from their experiences, not knowing that they're autistic, and reading the words, really, again, not everything that Emma goes through I identify with, but I certainly do identify with a lot of other things that she said. So yeah, this book was again still very good. I guess hard going in places, but if you're up for a good read and really just learning about how another woman has experienced her life on the autism spectrum, definitely recommend that. And to finish off, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and autism. PTSD is one of these co-occurring conditions that you can have as well as being autistic, or it can be a mixed diagnosis. So this book I found really interesting, by Lisa Morgan and Mary Donoghue, and Lisa's actually autistic herself. It's an insightful analysis with practical application. So if you're interested in PTSD and autism in particular, I do recommend this book. It's basically, it says on the back here, the relationship between autism and PTSD has historically been neglected in research and understanding, but impacts the lives of many. Autistic people are intrinsically vulnerable to traumatic social situations and relationships, which can later manifest as PTSD. Yes, definitely. I've seen this in the research. Navigating situations where one feels entirely at odds can lead seemingly commonplace events to be processed as traumatic experiences. So definitely a really good read. Is very kind of I guess research based. Let's talk about autism. So it goes through the criteria, differential diagnoses, masking, living with PTSD, that's a separate chapter. Autism meets PTSD. So if you're really interested in the overlap, I guess, or the interplay between the two, autism and PTSD, definitely recommend this book. Forwarded by Tony Atwood, who is here in Australia as well. So that wraps up my review. Apologies, not 5 books, but I did get a bit carried away because I love books. If you have any books that you would like to recommend to me, please mention in the comments below. If you've liked this video, I would love for you to subscribe. I'll be putting out a lot more videos on various topics coming up soon. And yes, if you like the video, please give me a thumbs up as well. So thank you very much. Bye for now.